Well, hello there guys, and welcome back to my channel. It's Kit Boardman here. I hope you're all doing well, and thank you ever so much for your amazing support. And I'm sorry to keep you all waiting because I was so busy. I'm a bit overwhelmed, but I'll always do my best what I can. So, some of you might recognise me already, and welcome back to my channel, by the way. And some of you new faces, so welcome to my channel. Okay, so on this video, I will do another reading out video for you guys. So you came to the right place. I'm doing a children's storybook. I have got The Wind in the Willows, Riverbank. It was inspired by Kenneth Grahame. Illustrated by Anne McKie. So, some of you might be willing to learn this storybook about Wind of the Willows. So, okay, so we're happy to learn. Sit back and relax and enjoy this video. The mole had been working very hard all the morning, spring cleaning his little room. First with brooms, then with dusters, then on ladders, then steps, then chairs. With a brush and a bucket of whitewash. There were splashes of paint all over his black fur. His poor back ached, and his arms were tired. Spring was in the air. Mole could feel it, even in the dark depths of his little house underground. Suddenly, he threw his brush down the floor. "Bother," he said. "Oh, blow." Han sprang cleaning and bolted out of his house without even waiting to put on his coat, once in a steep little tunnel outside of his front door. He scrabbled and scratched and scrapped, working busily with his little paws and muttering to himself, up we go, till at last, pop, his knot came out into the sunlight, and he found himself rolling in the warm grass of a great meadow. "This is fine," he said to himself. "This is better than whitewashing." The warm spring sunshine and a soft breeze made the mole jump for joy, with the sound of happy birds song in his ears. Mole went on his way across the meadow until he came to the gap in the edge on the far side. "Stop," said an elderly rabbit at the gap. "Sixpence to use our private road." But he was bowled over by the mole as he trotted by. On and on through the meadows he wandered, along the hedgerows, across the copses, until suddenly he stood by the edge of a river. Never in his life had he seen a river before. It chuckled and gurgled. The water all glint and gleams and sparkles. Mole was bewitched. He trotted along by the side of the river until he was quite tired out. Then he sat on the bank while the river cluttered on. As he sat on the grass and looked across the river, a dark hole in the bank opposite, just above the water's edge, caught his eye. "What a nice snug house that would make," thought Mole dreamily. As he gazed, something bright and small seemed to twinkle in the hole. Then, to his surprise, it winkled, and Mole saw it was an eye. Gradually, a small face appeared, a brown little face with whiskers, small net ears, and thick, silky hair. It was a water rat. Then the two animals stood and looked at each other. "Hello, Mole," said the water rat. "Hello, Rat," said the mole. "Would you like to come over?" asked the rat. "How can I do that?" said the mole rather crossly, for he knew nothing at all about riverside life and its ways. The rat said nothing but stop down and unfastened a rope and pulled it on it. Then stepped into the blue-white boat, just a size for two animals. Then the rat rowed smartly across the river and tied up. He held out his paw as the mole stepped gingerly down. Lean on, rat, he said. Now then, stepped lively, and the mole, to his surprise, found himself actually sitting in the wheelboat. This has been a wonderful day, said the mole, as the rat rolled away. Do you know I have never been in a boat before in all my life? What? Cried the rat, open-mouthed. I've never been in a boat. What have you been doing then? Is it so nice as it for that? Asked the mole shyly. Then he leaned back in his seat and looked at the cushions and the oars and lots of interesting things as the boat sailed gently under him. The rat leaned forward on his arm and said similarly, Believe me, my young friend, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, half so much worth doing as simply messing about in boats. Simply messing, I went on dreamily, messing about in boats. Look ahead, rat, cried Mole suddenly. It was too late. The boat struck the bank at full tilt, and the rat laid at the bottom of the boat, with his heels in the air. How the two friends laughed as the rat picked himself up. Look here, said Rabbit to Mole. If you have really nothing else to do this morning, why didn't we row down the river together and have a long day of it? Mole waggled his toes from a sheer happiness side and leaned back into the soft cushions. What a day I'm having, he said. Let's start at once. Just a minute, said the rat, as he tied up the boat to the ring on his landing stage. Then he climbed up onto his hole in riverbank. After a short while, he came out carrying a very heavy wicker picnic basket. Shove that under your feet, he said to the mole as he passed it down into the boat. What's inside it? Asked the mole, wriggling with curiosity. That's cold chicken inside it, Rabbit replied. Cold tongue, cold ham, cold beef, pig leg hood, in salad and French cress sandwich, potted meat, ginger beer, lemonade, soda, water. Oh, stop, cried the excited mole. This is too much. Do you really think so? Asked the rat seriously. It's only what I always take on this little river trips. The mole never heard the word he was saying. He was far too busy enjoying all the different scents and sounds of the river. As the water rat rolled quietly along, Mole dreamily trailed a paw in the water. After a while, Rat began to tell Mole all about his life by the river. It's all my world, and I don't want any other. But it isn't a bit dull in times? Asked Mole timidly. Just you and the river and no one else to talk to. No one else? The rat laughed. There are too many people sometimes. Otters, kingfishers, dap chicks, moorhens, around and about all day long. What lies over here? Asked Mole, waving his paw towards the dark woodland across a meadow. That's a wild wood, said Rat. We don't go there very much, we river bankers. Are they very nice people in there? Asked the Mole nervously. Well, replied the Rat, let me see. The squirrels are white, but the rabbits are mixed, a mixed lot. And then there's a badger. She lives right in the heart of it. Dear old badger. Nobody interferes with him. They had better not. Why, who should interfere with him? Asked Mole. The Rat hesitated, then explained. There are others. Weasels and stoats and foxes and so on. They're all right in the way, but they break out sometimes. There's no denying it. And then you really can't trust them. And that's a fact. And beyond the wild wood again, Mole asked, where it was all blue and dim. And you can see what may be hills or smoke of towns or just clouds. Beyond the wild wood comes the wild world, said the Rat. There's nothing that doesn't matter to you or me. I have never been there. I'm never going, nor you, either, if you have got any sense at all. Now, then, here's our backwater at last. Where are we going to have lunch? Leaving the main part of the river, they floated through to a little lake. Grassy green banks sloped down on the either side. Brown, snaky tree roots gleamed below the surface of the quiet water. Ahead of them, the water tumbled over the where that drove the dripping mill water. It was so beautiful that Mole could only hold up by front paws and gasp. Oh my, oh my, oh my. The Rat brought the boat alongside the bank, tied her up, helped Mole safely ashore, and lifted out the picnic basket. The Mole begged to be allowed to unpack it all by himself. Rat was pleased to let him while he stretched full length on the grass for the rest. Very excited, Mole shook out the tablecloth and spread it. Then he took out all the mysterious pockets one by one and arranged their contents in order, still gasping, oh my, oh my. When it all was ready, the Rat said, now pitch in, old fellow. Which Mole gladly did, for he had started his spring cleaning very early that morning, and he had been a very long time since breakfast. What are you looking at? Rat asked the Mole when they had had enough to eat, and Mole's eyes were able to wander off. The topic off a little. I'm looking, said the Mole, at the streak of bubbles that I see travelling along the surface of the water. That strikes me as funny. Bubbles? Oh no, said the Rat, laughing. A broad, glistening nose showed itself above the edge of the bank. The otter held himself out and shook the water from his coat. Why did you invite me? The otter asked Rat as he went towards the food. All the world seems to be out on the river today. The otter went on. I came here to try and get a moment's peace, and then and stumbled upon your fellows. There, there was a whistle behind them, coming from a thick, leafy hedge. Suddenly, a stripy head appeared. "Come on, old badger," shouted the rat. The badger trotted forward a couple of steps, then grunted, company," and turned his back and disappeared from view. "That's just the sort of fellow he is." As Rat quite disappointed. "Simply hates company. That's the last we'll see of him today." "Well, tell us who's out on the river," the water rat asked Otter. "Mr. Toad's out," replied the otter, "in his brand new racing boat. New clothes and new everything." The water rat smiled. Once it was sailing, then it was punting last year. It was houseboating. It's always the same. Whatever he does it, he seems to get tired of it, then starts on something fresh. From where they had sat, they could get a glimpse of the mainstream of the river. Just then, the little racing boat flashed by with Mr. Toad rolling. He was short and stout and splashing badly and rolling all over the place. The rat stood up and shouted to him, but Mr. Toad shook his head and sped on his way. "He'll be out that boat in a minute if he rolls like that," said Rat sitting. "Of course he will," chuckled the otter. Did I ever told you that story about Toad and the lock keeper?" Just then the mayfly swooped low over the water. Suddenly he had vanished, and so had the badger. Otter. All that Mole could see of him was a streak of bubbles on the water. Well, said the rat. "I suppose we ought to be moving. I wondered which of us had better pack the picnic basket." "Oh, please let me," said the Mole. So of course Rat let him. Packing the basket was not quite so pleasant work as unpacking it. It never is, but the rat was quite determined to enjoy it. Just when he had got the basket packed and strapped up tightly, he saw a plate staring up at him from the glass, and when the job had been done again, the rat pointed out a fork which one of them ought to have seen. Last of all, the mustard pot, which Mole had sitting on it. The job was finished. The afternoon sun was sitting low as Rat rolled gently homewards in a dreamy mood, merry pottery to himself, and not paying much attention to Mole. By now, the Mole was feeling quite at home in the boat, or so he thought, and he was getting a bit restless. "Ratty, please, I want to roll now." The rat shook his head with a smile. "No, not yet, my young friend," he said, "till you have a few lessons. It's not as easy as it looks." Mole was quite quiet for a minute or two, but he began to feel more and more jealous of Rat, rolling so strongly and so easily along. A small voice inside him began to whisper that he could do it just as well. The Mole jumped up and seized her eyes. Suddenly, the rat, who was gazing out over the water, was taken by surprise and fell backwards off his seat with his legs in the air. Swiftly, the Mole jumped in his place and grabbed her eyes. "Stop it, you silly fool!" cried the rat from the bottom of the boat. You can't do it. You have us over. The mole flung his oars back with a flourish and made a great big dig at the water. He missed the surface altogether. His legs flew out above his head, and he found himself laying on the top of a pool rat. Greatly alarmed, he made a grab at the side of the boat, and the next moment he splooshed over went the boat, and he found himself struggling in the river. Oh my, how cold the water was, and oh, how very wet it felt. How it sang in his ears as he went down, down, down. How bright and welcome the sun looked as he rose to the surface, coughing and spluttering. How afraid he was when he felt himself sinking again. Then a firm paw gripped him by the back of his neck. It was a mole. He was laughing. Mole could feel him laughing. Right down his arm and through his paw and into his neck. The rat got hold of an awl and shoved it under the mole's arm. Then he did it the same by the other side of him, and swimming behind, pushed the poor animal to shore. He hauled him out and set him down on the bank, squishy, pulpy, and limp of misery. The rat had rubbed him down a bit and wrung him some of the wet out of him. He said, "Now then, old fellow, trot up and down on the bank as fast as you can, till you're warm and dry again, while I dive for the picnic basket." So the unhappy mole, wet on the outside and ashamed on the inside, trotted about till he was very dry. Meanwhile, the rat dived into the water again, brought back the boat and tied her up. Then he dived for the picnic basket and struggled to land with it. When it was very ready for the start once more, the mole, sad and ashamed, took his seat in the stern of the boat. As they set off, he said in a trembling voice, "Ratty, my generous friend, I am very sorry indeed for my foolishness and ungrateful behaviour. I almost lost that beautiful picnic basket. I've been complete fool, and I know it. Will you forgive me and let things go on as before?" "That's all right," said Rat cheerily. What's a little wet to water at? Look here, I think you'd better come and stop with me for a little while. I can make you more comfortable and teach you to roll and to swim, and you'll soon be as handy in the water as any of us." The mole was so touched by Ratty's kind words that he could find no voice to answer him, and he had to brush away the tears or two with the back of his paw. But the rat kindly looked away, and very soon the mole felt happy again. When they got home, the rat made a bright fire in the parlour and placed Mole in the armchair in front of it, having fetched down a dressing room gown and slippers for him. Then the rat told Mole with the stories till supper time. Very thrilling stories they were too, to the rat who had lived in the dark burrow all his life. Stories all about weirs and floods, leaping pikes and herons, all about adventures down the drains and night fishing with otter. supper was a most cheerful meal, but very shortly afterwards a terribly sleepy Mole had to be taken upstairs by a very kind rat. Mole was given the best bedroom. When he soon laid his head on his pillow quite happily, knowing that his newfound friend, the rat, was lapping the sill of his window. This day was only a first day of many similar ones for the rat, for the Mole, and the start of many adventures during the long summer months he spent with the rat. He learned to swim and to roll. He learned to love the water, and when Mole put his ear near the reeds, he definitely could hear the wind whispering in the willows. The end. So I hope you guys enjoy reading this, watching me reading the classic story about Wind of the Willows, the Riverbank. So please feel free to leave a comment down below and give thumbs up, and remember, don't forget to share my contents on social media. I'll be really grateful for you guys. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the video. So just remember, you can support me on other social media content platforms is Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest and TikTok. You can support me on exclusive contents as you like. You can always remember to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification. So thank you so much, and hope you enjoyed this video. So please stay tuned to another future content. So have a nice day.